Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Drunkduck Quackcast, and with me is Baines and Tant Serene.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Cue the theme music. That was the Drunkduck theme music, and welcome to the Drunkduck Quackcast. This is Quackcast number, what is it? Number 673. Oh my god. Today we're talking about what is the title of this Quackcast? That's a trick, isn't it?
By their deeds, you will know them.
Okay, that's it.
By their works, ye shall know them. I don't. Which one?
Oh, that's so deep. I love it.
Isn't it deep?
That's
I just know the
beautiful.
quote. I don't even know what it's from. Yeah.
I love it. That's it. So this is what can you tell about an artist from their art? And we tried to do this before, art versus artist, which was Quackcast number 671. But we were mainly about the artist rather than the art. But now we're going a different way. We're going to say, what does the art tell us about the artists? And we've done a whole little video about this, our Patreon video, where we worked on Star Wars, because that was a really easy first one. So we won't really be doing the Star Wars thing for the Quackcast. You'll have to subscribe.
No, go watch it. Go watch it.
Yes. But yeah, what can
You'll see us get going on Star Wars until the time runs out.
Like literally runs out. Someone got cut off, I'm sure. So
Yes, definitely did. But yeah, what can the art tell us about the artist? Now, this is an airy-fairy thing. There's no basis, scientific kind of realistic basis to this for the most part. Tance, you were talking about this. Unless you know the artist, really well, and then you can really tie facts to the history and work to stuff about them. Or you look at the art from a purely technical perspective, and you go, yes, so they did this because of this, and yeah, you can work out that way. But I think it's more fun to sort of to do the airy-fairy stuff. Go on.
Another thing that you can assess fairly objectively, I think, like fairly objectively, not super accurately, is where an artist stands philosophically, politically, and socially. That you can assess in certain ways, because the way that they present certain things can tell you about what they want for you as a reader or consumer to root for, what to not root for, what they want to show you is a good thing, what is a bad thing, yada yada. So
yeah, exactly.
You can assess
like Ayn Rand and her libertarianism sort of thing. All right. Well, before we get into that, we have to bring up the featured comic. I featured a comic this week called I Am Not a Protagonist, which is a great little comic. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about that now. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was I Am Not the Protagonist. Sophia Shaw is a background character in her own life, an NPC. Whatever she does, wherever she goes, people ignore her. There is no role for her, no place for her. She's a nobody, even to her own mum. But she has one single shining ray of light and refuge. Bloomstone, a joyous romantic novel game. This is a full-colour comedy drama isekai story. Isekais have been massively popular in manga and anime for a few years now, and it's good to finally see one on DD. There have been many otherworld and magical transportation stories on DD, but none that owe something specifically to this current trend. I Am Not the Protagonist is just now starting, so it's a great time to read it and become a fan. I hope you enjoy I Am Not the Protagonist. It's a great comic by Magical Lorelei, and it's rated E for everyone, although I think that rating is just going to change to T for teen because of some swear words. Yeah, that's a bit of a change, but it's a very highly enjoyable little comic, a highly enjoyable start to this manga or anime style comic on the isekai theme. Isekai means otherworld, and this is specifically the Japanese version of otherworld, which means you're transported to another world. And the popular theme right now in a lot of that style of writing is that you're transported to a world that exists within a game or a game style of otherworld. So that's why I'm saying this owes something to the isekai trend, whereas what we've had before, transportation to other worlds, has been more the old-fashioned traditional style of being transported to just a completely different place, a fantasy world, which is a very old trope within Western media. So, yes, anyway, I Am Not the Protagonist by Magical Lorelei, rated T. That was our featured comic, I Am Not a Protagonist. Okay, so next up we have a comic that, well, not really a comic, it's a theme. It's the theme that Gumballs has given us to Maynard and Grimm, which is a comic. So, Maynard and Grimm. This is a grim and hauntingly introspective. This theme takes you down some dark and mysterious paths, into gloom and hidden places. Be careful, it's very, very dangerous. So take it away, Gumballs, with your theme to Maynard and Grimm. That was Maynard and Grimm. Thank you for that, Gummalus. And it was a comic by Finamagic, rated E. Finamagic, who has been... Oh, sorry, Finmagic. I always add an I or an E to his name in the middle, but this is Finmagic. So he's been doing these comics since the 90s. He's been doing these comics forever, consistently. Wow. So, yeah, this is a fellow of enormous talent and skill who's been refining and honing his work all this time. So, yes, I hope you enjoyed the theme music to it, and maybe have a look at Maynard and Grimm. Okay, so, into the Quackcast. Yes, so, should we get all Freudian on someone's work? Maybe we could look at this this interesting comic. I think it's called Without Moonlight. And what can that tell us about just the title itself, Without Moonlight?
Exactly.
So this is Tance's hatred of people mooning because she doesn't like bottoms. We can tell that from the title.
Oh my God, you are so amazing! Like you can see through it immediately.
See, this is why
It
Tance
also
never
has like
really liked Bottomless Waitress.
yeah.
There you go. Sorry, Tance.
No,
go on.
it like it features a woman that goes around sniping men. What does this tell you about the misandry of this creator?
The extreme misandry.
Oh,
Okay, so this is a woman handling what is really a tool of men at this stage. She fondles this thing. It's a long gun,
yeah,
a very, very long, because it's a
and
sniper rifle.
exactly. She opts for rifles, not just small little Luger pistols.
Exactly. And she's sniping these men, she's ejaculating this hot lead
Oh dear God.
into them, which doesn't produce life. It's anti-life. This kills. So she is an anti-man. She's an anti-woman
Exactly.
almost. And this is what
That
Tance
is a
is saying.
hidden meaning. Yeah.
Tance is saying that militaristic women are the only things that can solve war. Through their power of life is inverted into this. Oh God, this is just bullshit.
Yeah. See, this is how wrong you can go by reading into certain things
Well,
wrongly, first of all, and way too much.
the
Second
beauty
of
of
all.
it is it often tells you more about the goals of the
Yeah.
critic than it does of the
Yeah.
writer.
Right.
Whether they're trying to impose their own feelings and thoughts or own biases on this creator, or they're trying to just be propagandist, I suppose,
Hmm.
and demonize
Yeah,
this person.
Yeah, maybe the critic has a message that they really care about a lot, so they kind of place it over
Yeah.
everything they
And we did a parody of this Without Moonlight, but I remember, and I think there must have been an article somewhere that I wrote about this because it was so egregious. When Squid Game came out, which was like this huge hit, and it is clearly and I say clearly because the creator literally said it, like what the symbol is, which is the commodification of people in systems, like in capitalist systems and all that. There came this self-absorbed analyst that said, clearly this is a criticism of communism that the artist doesn't realize is making, that sort of thing. And they went, like, they bent everything out of shape so much to convince people that no, this is not a criticism of capitalism, as if that would be like a threat to capitalism or something. This is a threat to communism. Communism is the real evil, and this is the real blah 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 blah. So yeah, always take a critic analysis of what the artist means with a grain of salt, because it's what the critic sees in the work. Not
It's the important thing.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not necessarily what the creator wanted to show. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
and Squid Game is an interesting example too, where we could look at it from like a more technical perspective in that. So people looked at it and said, oh my God, this is such a great, original, interesting idea. I've never really heard of something like this before. But those are people who are unaware of the cultural context with which this comes from. So this comes from Korea. And if we look at Korean and Japanese, manga and anime, this story has been reproduced like 6,789 times, like in anime and also live action. This is not a new thing. This is a death match, and like death games, and this is super common.
Yeah.
It's a genre. That's how common it is, that you can buy, millions of stories on this and read them. So there's nothing new here. This is just the only new thing is the crossover potential in coming to Netflix during COVID. So it had a caged audience who are lapping that up. This fantastic new thing. So it seemed new to these people, but nothing in it was like, I suppose, like the specific message they had about, capitalism. That was what they wanted to tell, but the form it took, there was nothing new or novel in that at all, in any way.
I would even venture to say, I mean, having consumed way too much of Asian series, and I say just Asian series because now I have graduated to Chinese and Filipino and Japanese series. My case is incurable at this point. So anyway, I have seen criticism of the system, and when I say the system, I mean capitalism, objectification of people, classism, castes. All these criticisms are very frequent in these works. Like this is the bread and butter of most of these dramas.
Criticize the system, yeah.
Yeah, the whole romance, Western style romance, like The Bold and the Beautiful sort of romance, they don't do that. And like their romance is very vanilla, I would say, considering what the West does. So
yeah, so even the political aspect is not new. Yeah, you're right. You are right. Yeah, because they're tackled in everything. This is basically, like an upgraded version from the school dramas, where they have this rigid system where people have to compete and achieve this and then go up and all that kind of stuff. And it's just that's probably where the genre started, and then just just kept on going up and leveling up until you have the Squid Game stuff. But nothing new or
the original thing is that it is all adults playing kids games. That's the new part.
They've had this before as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Squid Game. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at this stuff. Yeah, politically, but also where does it come from? And so because this is a genre, and these are just genre, like standard kind of tropes that the artist is using, you can't really honestly use that as a way of criticizing it and working out anything about the creator, because they're just using the common tools. So the whole, death is the consequence, that doesn't tell us anything, because that's just part of his cult, or I don't know if it's his or a him or whatever. It's part of their culture, his or a him. What? A his or a her? Or
we get those.
Them. Yeah. Okay, so it's about their culture they're drawing from. It's not a novel thing, so that doesn't tell us about them. And as you say, the political stuff as well doesn't tell us about them. So it's important to know that stuff, isn't it?
Exactly. The only thing that it can possibly tell you is that the creator ascribes to this particular message. Like they do want to criticize XYZ situation that they are criticizing. That's the only thing you can infer, basically, without knowing anything else about the creator.
So it's important to know the cultural context of the thing. Although we can ignore that if we want to be assholes.
Yes, absolutely.
Go off page,
We can ignore their perspective and say that our perspective is actually the correct one because we are the ones that know better from,
Precisely.
Yes.
yeah.
So what does Typical Strange tell us about Baines?
Oh God, he's half a step away from complete mental breakdown.
I don't know. When
He
I was
also,
reading it, I
he's
thought that this.
oh, go on.
I thought this was an example of someone suffering a psychosis, as if time had stopped. He couldn't cope with the fact that the sort of the early 90s had finished, and he's perpetually living again and again within this period of his life, just reliving it through these
He's
characters.
also totally anti-technology. That's why everything is still in tapes.
That's right.
And,
Is he
and
even aware
is
that there's
into
other
big
technology?
women.
What's that? Oh, he's into big women.
He's also into very big women.
Right.
So there's also that.
Well, yes, I do get that sense. I sort of see it as being like the fracturing of his personality across all these different characters. I see them as different aspects of Baines. So TK and Oscar and Abigail, Harley, all these characters are just different parts of Baines. So when I talk to Baines, I'm sort of talking to all these characters at once. Don't you think?
That's a lot of words to say that these are all of Baines's personalities, and we have talked to each one.
But they're distinct. They're distinct, different Baineses.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're talking to the TK. Sometimes we're talking to the Oscar. See, Oscar is prime Baines.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we basically say to Baines, like, can I talk to TK right now? and we need to basically get him into the emotional state that makes TK emerge. And
that's right.
Yeah, but you must not tell him that, because if you tell him that he has different personalities, it will cause a mental breakdown. So never mention this to Baines.
That's right.
Yeah, when someone's in a psychotic state like that, if you don't want to provoke them, because that will create some sort of schism, and there will be an incident. There will be, like, he will fight against that in order to try and maintain the status quo. So if you threaten the status quo, you could be in mortal danger.
Yeah.
Wow. This is why art criticism is so dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all true.
That's all true. It's all true.
Also, it's like a terrible way to represent the DID, which is the multiple personality disorder newest name. So.
Oh, really? See, Baines, you've got to know this in order to understand your issue.
Yes. It's like the worst way we could talk about someone with such a condition. So.
At least they're not calling it schizophrenia anymore, which was completely wrong.
Yeah, it's not schizophrenia. And that's also the worst way of, like, we are hitting all the, like, we are checking all the boxes for like an ignorant, presumptuous asshat.
That's the
point. Yeah, we're doing an excellent job of it. Like, I'm proud of us.
Very nice.
So we have a Kaiju Valentine. I can't remember the name of this comic. I read every single freaking page of it. Yeah. Kaiju Valentine.
You do, and we all of our personalities thank you for that. And you had it right. That's it, Kaiju Valentine.
I love it. It's a beautiful comic, but yeah, this does tell us even more about the state of Baines's personality and mind than Typical Strange.
Even bigger women.
Even bigger women.
The women have increased in size, and they've multiplied. Most of the characters in the comic are women. And they're huge. They're simply gigantic. Like it must be like about 8 times taller than a man, I think, maybe more.
I think sounds about right. I think.
And the men are really, really tiny. They are very tiny men.
Yes.
You're like a converted misandrist as well, Baines.
Oh, yes.
I don't know.
So
There
yeah,
could be some gigantism fetishism going on here. I
yes, as
suspect
well. Yeah.
that's a huge part of it. Like there's this very young, innocent-looking man with large eyes. Even his father and his mother are, they mostly his father also has this look, this very innocent, rounded face sort of look, as if they're ingenue, kind of babes in the wood, ready for whatever life has to offer them, and they everything should be good for them, because you want to protect these little babes, these beautiful little people, and then they're thrust into now he's been thrust into the world of the giants, and the giants are sort of a little bit I don't know, the women are very kind of there's a bit of I don't want to use the word sluttishness because that's wrong, but lasciviousness in their eyes, a bit of lasciviousness, a bit more worldliness in the eyes of the women than the men. You can see that, and so yeah, they've experienced a lot more, and the men are more innocent. So we have that kind of frisson between these characters happening. It's very interesting,
Oh, it
don't you
is.
think?
Yeah, it's too bad the comic's ending because now I'm getting very uncomfortable.
Oh my God, it's like, and then we have Oz and his naked buttock fetish.
Yes. Mechanical, naked butt, wartime. Just
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Pinky TA. Okay.
yes, Pinky Ta.
Guitar.
Yeah. Uh, hers is the only bottom in the breeze as well, and she, like everyone else, is totally clothed. So we could infer that this is a very specific and a vulnerable part of Oz's psyche that feels exposed
Oh my
and
gosh.
pink.
That's genius. That's well done.
Oh, I hate myself. I need to take a shower now. Ew.
And is the pink hair like the pink hair is like a distraction from the exposed psyche, if you will, represented by the
Yes.
butt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, let's stop that.
So we
I feel
probably
so. I feel like I have partaken in something forbidden. Ah,
Well, we could pick a popular comic on Drunk Duck and go and have a little bit of a an examination of it.
you know what? I would want to do it straight up, like not make a like fun like we did with ours. And what you can actually infer from the artist's work, which is going to be very little, but I think rather interesting at the same time. Because again, I cannot say it enough. You cannot really tell, like, you cannot get into the artist's mind through their work because the work that is there and created with a very specific purpose. You don't know what this purpose is. You can only see the manifestations of this artist's thoughts and beliefs and intents. But that's the most that you can infer from someone's work.
True. So,
Yeah.
which comic should we choose? We need to choose something that's um all of us know, because you guys can't necessarily click on a comic, can you, from your computers while we're on the call?
Yeah,
I
my
might be able
computer
to.
will freeze.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could do it on your phone, I suppose. But okay. So we'll talk about something that we all know. You guys don't
Mhm.
know what's this new comic? Familiar by Soshu, which is currently in the number one spot. Oh, Bottomless Waitress is still there in the top 5.
Oh my god, amazing!
We all know.
It is.
Yeah, it's weird. We know Chubby the Vampire.
Yeah, but I haven't caught up for a long while, and I feel remiss.
Oh, Chubby the Vampire is gigantic, so I think we're fine. The fact we haven't caught up because we never will. That's impossible. So we all have a familiarity with Chubby?
To a degree, yeah.
To a degree. All right. Well, okay. We'll do that then because I don't think we have a group familiarity with any other comic to this same kind of level unless it's our own. I mean, I suppose we could all do all this with like Putrid Meat.
How about used books?
I haven't read much of used books.
Okay.
I mean, I have at points, but only like single chapter.
Putrid Meat. I could do that.
Yeah, I've read all of Putrid Meat. What about you, Bones?
I have. It's been a while since I read it, but yeah, I've read the whole thing.
Okay,
let's go with that.
An examination. Okay, so Putrid Meat, of course, was a comic by Pitface, also known as Deirdre Ray Crouch, who is a very important Drunkduck alumnus. How do you say that word? I don't know.
Alumna for her.
Alumna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go. Very important alumna of Drunkduck, and she created this comic. And well, I mean, she came to Drunkduck with this comic already on the go. There were already pages already done, and completed this on Drunkduck. So it was pretty awesome. So yes, this comic it spans many years, and there's a lot of development, a lot of change throughout that time. It started off being very grim and gritty, and sort of slowly developed into a more coherent story with a more coherent, more polished style as it went on. Less kind of very gritty and created through physical media like pens and pencils onto more digital media towards the latter parts of the comic. So it went through a lot. So this is a comic really based around this a character who is really a thrash metal metalhead kind of character from the period of the 1990s, really, when that style of music was really coming
very Dave Mustaine like.
Very much so.
Big curly hair. You cannot see his eyes or his nose often. Just his like the lower jaw and mouth. The mouth is the main expression device. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
For him.
Slash from Guns N' Roses without the hat.
Yeah. Same sort of thing. Just as an aside, it always annoys me. It annoys me intensely when people talk about 80s metal bands as, the glam metal, as it's called now, as being hair metal. Because all metal in the 80s and the 70s and the early 90s had long hair. You couldn't be a metal band without that. There's no such thing as hair metal. You're an idiot if you use that phrase. An idiot. I don't care. If you played metal in the 80s and you call it hair metal, you're an idiot. Because you all had long hair then.
Oh, come on, Oz. To hair is human.
Well, yeah, there you go. One inference that I feel like I'm cheating a bit because I do have insight like into the creator, but you can definitely tell that this person likes metal music. Like the entire aesthetic is very metal, and the art reminds me of a lot of heavy metal covers that I for for records and stuff that I have seen. So there's this aesthetic imbuing the comic throughout.
Yeah,
right.
Very much so, and also there's another influence you can tell very strongly is the 2000 AD influence from that particular British comics, and Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, all that kind of stuff. You see that very strongly in the style there, and also the style of story is very much Judge Dredd. The brutalism, the grittiness. This is all like the whole comic could take place in the world of Judge Dredd, really, or another kind of dimension of that world.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and there is also this like a black humor type of approach, like there is a sort of a humor through horror that happens a lot of times. The jokes are often like steeped in horrific imagery, and when I say horrific, I mean horror, not like they are excellently drawn, all of them. And but also there is this exploration of human relationships, I think, through this through these stories, and there is this exploration of being mainstream, being anti-mainstream, breaking stereotypical elements, reconstructing them in certain ways, especially when the story became less episodic and more like a saga between. Yeah. So yeah, there is that. There is also, you have Exis, the corporate magnate demon dude that is seducing the world in order to consume it. So there are these elements of exploring the status quo from different angles.
Well, a very, very strong element to it, just to go further with what you're saying, is anti-conformity. Conformity is absolutely wrong in the eyes of the author, expressed through this comic. Conformity is the evil, and Exis is the very image of corporate capitalist conformity, and he's trying to impose that on this world, which is alien to this world. This world doesn't belong with that kind of thing. This world is just pure chaos, and he is forcing it to conform. And Bones is the ultimate rebel against this, trying to break it and bring things back to how they should be.
But for self-serving reasons, though, he's not your typical hero. He's super anti-heroic. In like he's an anti-hero at best, and borderline villainy a bit at times. But it definitely evolves into an anti-hero like midway through the story and after that. So there's that. He struggles with responsibility, Bones. Like he never conforms, because conformity is something that is shunned in this comic. But he does have an arc from shunning responsibility together with conformity, and then differentiating the two, and he takes some responsibility for certain things and runs with that. So that is an interesting little tidbit. I mean, it always intrigued me. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
He's trying to save his world in a way, and then it becomes not just about him, but about saving others from his world. I would say it's anarchistic. It sort of it points to the author being an anarchist.
I don't know
in the
maybe
in the way in Bones
like,
is
extreme libertarian, which I know Pitt is.
Yeah, but it would be, if you were to say libertarian would be like left wing, so I would say it's more anarchist than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
it's
does feel
definitely,
anarchist. Yeah.
it's definitely not a left wing world. It's definitely not a world that that fits in with left wing ideals.
No, it's a
Only
survival of the fittest, like kind of
Mm-hmm.
apocalyptic.
it is. It is, which is, I suppose, reflects the ideals of a younger person, because Pitface was much younger when she was writing this comic originally. So her ideas about, I don't know, civil systems and all this kind of thing would have been a lot less formed and more focused on self than community. And maybe that's why the comic changed as it did when Bones became more focused on trying to save his world, as sort of Pitface grew with the comic and sort of expanded her views to be more kind of outward focused. What do you think?
Whoa, very
Yeah, could be. I mean, we would have to ask her. To be absolutely certain, but I would say that Bones definitely has a very complex arc that is pretty intense, in the sense that he, like, cause and effect is really a thing in this world. He does certain things, these things cause other things, and then he has to deal with these consequences. So you do have him starting to consider that, the cause and effect thing,
right.
which I find fascinating. So I'm not sure if she would advocate. I mean, we would need to really ask her if if uh, if she even thought that way as she was creating this world. But this definitely is the feel that I'm getting when I read this.
We're
And
critics, we know all. We don't have to ask people. We'll tell them
yeah,
what they mean.
of course, we know
Yeah.
better than the creator always.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, in a way, it's interesting to think about what people create unintentionally, though.
Yeah.
The things she's not doing on purpose, like you see her maturing over the years of making the comic, and maybe the
Mhm.
worldview, like you said, her worldview is more kind of all encompassing, or it's a wider view. It's not as
Not as narrow as it was.
Mhm.
maybe not as narrow. Like that's kind of the neat stuff. And it a little bit over the years, like you couldn't take that comic and say that's her completely. Obviously,
No.
there's a lot more to her than anything in any of her comics. But you know,
Mhm.
you can see the humor, you can see the kind of toughness, and
Oh, definitely. That is
Yeah.
standing
reflected, yeah.
against, so like sort of,
And
just a
and the
pillar of
passion.
strength. I think the
You can
what?
see the passion that she has
Yeah,
when creating. And currently she's making this new comic that I hope will be widely available. If, like, you should go to her Patreon and subscribe to get it so far, because there are several pages already up, and her style, you can definitely still recognize that it is her style. It's her that is creating this, um, but it is a far more mature approach to storytelling, to character building, to setting up, ambience and tone, and this, like, everything is done better, and it was
Well,
already very good. So
let's just say that, okay, so the way I would think about this is in Bones, especially the early pages, it's a massive amount of work to produce these pages. So much
mhm,
goes. It's like this gritty stuff. There's every single little line you can see in there, like all the sketching. It's just like The page is full of pen marks, and that is how Bones is created. But at the same time, it's very narrow focus. It's just focused on this character and what this character is doing and what this character means, and there's nothing else outside of that. It's just incredibly narrow focus. Her current work is the total opposite of that, in that the art is incredibly minimal. There's nowhere near as much like intensity goes into these pages at all. It's just minimal, but it's minimal from a place of like she knows exactly what she wants to do.
Yeah, of
And
mastery.
so she does, yeah, the minimal that she can do in order to express the most that she can. But the story is way wider. Before it was like a very narrow focus, but now you can tell there's way more involved in just a single page than there used to be in the original pages of Bones. There's a lot more is implied. There's a lot more meaning there. There's just so much outside of that this single page just suggests so much more story. So that has been the change. Like bigger story, smaller art, I would say.
Yeah, and that is a treat, in my opinion. If you can see that kind of development in an artist, and that is something that you can infer, you can see how they mature in their art and how they go places with their art, and that is a fascinating journey to watch. And personally, I would limit myself to just enjoying that rather than trying to infer.
But we're big critics, so we have to.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a shame because a critic could just could produce quality criticisms. I don't know how to say it, like evaluations, assessments, presentations of an artist's work by just focusing on these things. You don't need to go into their psyche.
What's the fun in that, though?
Right.
So let's talk about the other characters in Bones. Okay, so there is as a couple of other main characters. I think there's Igor, who is this fellow with a mohawk. So he was meant to be the leader of Bones' team.
Yeah, the foil to Bones, basically.
So he wants to be the leader now. Bones is sort of taking over his position. So that means there's a sort of like there's a bit of tension between these two sort of main characters, between Igor with his mohawk and his big shoulder gridiron shoulder pads and all this kind of stuff, and seeing who should really be the boss. But then there's Tread, which is this character who slowly came in and seemed to want to be a main character. So he's more of a a Mr. Spock kind of character, in that he's quite emotionless and quite mechanical and robotic in the way he talks. So again, that reflected another aspect of Pit Face. And I think we could talk that like we could be a bit more serious. Like I was talking about the schism of Baines with all the different characters in Typical Strange and how they represent different aspects of his psyche. So I was sort of joking about that. But with Putrid Meat, I think we can be a bit more accurate in saying this represented a slightly different part of Pit Face when she was going into the character of Tread, because she was very enthusiastic about him, and he was a whole new thing, and she'd create a whole massive backstory for Tread in the world of Bones, and this predated Bones' world, and this was I can't remember the name of it, but Bunkaria.
Yeah,
so he came from this Bunkaria.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that name. I would beg to differ a little bit on this, and this is amazing in what everyone sees. Like different people see different things in characters created by an artist. To me, Tread is not emotionless, although he manifests like in a very stoic way. On the contrary, for me, this is a person that has a lot of emotions, but too much trauma to like manifest them overtly. He is dealing with extremely traumatic events that broke him from his reality, quote unquote, in like the place where he grew up, all of that. And he is handling this in the most like adaptive way possible, because he has gone completely cerebral in the sense that I'm going to just use logic and my mind to navigate through this kaleidoscope of violent emotions. And that's what Red looks like to me. Again, I cannot say that this is what she wanted to do. I'm just saying that this is what he shows to me, like Red shows to me.
Fair enough. For me, I felt that all his emotions were sort of locked away, and he wasn't even able to access them. His mind was stuck on this very simplistic kind of mechanical way of interacting with the world, because things were just like locked down in his subconscious, so he couldn't think in an emotional way, on the surface at least. He just had to deal with things in like a very linear kind of flowchart.
That we're not saying different things. That's basically dissociative behaviors, and that's what I saw, and I generally found Ted to be a very actually, I wouldn't say fragile person, but delicate person in a way. Like if you knew, you could really hurt him if you wanted. I think so.
But that wouldn't be it wouldn't be obvious in the way that you could hurt him.
No.
Because he had that very mechanical, simple front. So you'd think, oh, he's like a toaster. He's this indestructible, mechanical, thinking creature.
Yeah, and that soft spot, vulnerable spot, is hidden away.
Exactly.
Deeply.
Yeah. At least, again, with a grain of salt, in the sense that this is what I see and what we see. We would need her to confirm or deny.
But I did see this as being an aspect of Pitface that she wanted to explore after exploring the chaotic kind of, surface emotion character of Bones, who was just very instinctual in the way he acted, versus Tread, who was the complete opposite. And she really did want to get into this, because then she went on to produce Epic of Blitzov, who was a character who was basically a primitive version of Bones. Primitive version of Tread in a lot of ways. So he was the founder of the world that Tread came from in this prequel comic, The Epic of Blitzov. But he behaved in the same sort of simplistic, mechanical way. He wasn't an openly emotional character. Slightly more emotional than Tread, but still
Blitzov was different.
Pretty basic.
Blitzov was in search of things, whereas Tread wasn't in search of things.
He was in search of things, but he didn't have he didn't have an extreme emotional connection to the world. It was more detached. It was very detached. And I thought that's like an early version of Tread in a way, or a more basic version of Tread. And that seemed to be an area that Pitface was exploring. She was moving on to that, versus she'd sort of gone out of wanting to do the reactive version of a character, which was Bones, into something that wasn't so reactive. So maybe that reflected her different views on the world. I'm not sure.
Could be. And that's fascinating, again, in the sense that you can, like, we all see things in art, and that's why it is art, that maybe aren't necessarily there, or they are, and they resonate with us. And the secret in this, I think, is when we infer things from the art about artists, or especially what the artist wants to say, which is like, what is the theme, all of that is always done when people analyze art is that we have to always have a difference to the artists themselves, in the sense that art, an art shown to 5 different people is 5 different pieces of art, if that makes sense.
Well, that's a very postmodernist way of looking at it. That's
Yeah.
that is, looking at the views of the audience rather than the views of the creator. But I think what we're saying is we are trying to bridge that, aren't we?
A
We're
bit.
trying to...
But again, I'm being super wary, and I might be the wet blanket here, in the sense that it is so very easy to project what you get, what you interpret, what the art tells to you, to project that onto the artist, in that, that is exactly what the artist wanted to say, and we shouldn't do that. That's what I'm saying. We should
Well,
have hypotheses, and that's all.
Oh yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially when I look at other critics who are looking at work and telling us, oh, this is what the artist means. Although I recognize there is a problem with it, but I also recognize that it's fun to do.
Oh yeah, it is super fun.
Given that proviso, given that explanation. So when I do that and I say, oh, this artist is clearly misogynist with this work that they produced, I'm not saying that seriously.
Yeah, that's why I'm constantly putting up disclaimers. Like I'm like this catatonic cartoon character that places disclaimers everywhere.
Well, you don't want to be out there officially diagnosing people. Yeah, I know that could be deemed unethical. I can say, though, on a serious note, that Pitt, in some of her line work, which is amazing and eye-catching always, I can always tell on which days she had the hiccups, because there's a jitter.
Whenever Payne says serious note, yes, you're in for something special.
Yeah. We have just like 6 minutes, and what I'm super interested in is for you guys to quickly say what you want to say with your art, as quickly as you can.
Well, I'm trying to proselytize the benefits of bottomlessness in all my work. So I'll make the world a better place where no one wears trousers, and that'll be fantastic.
So basically, DuckTales.
Yes, that's it.
Well, what I'm thinking lately, and I don't know if it's in all the stuff I've done or if it's been sort of subtle or whatever, but I've been thinking about what do I want to bring overall to what I'm making. And it's, I think, like the idea that everyone has something to contribute and something of worth. Even, it's not like everyone's brilliant or everyone's a genius or everyone's very capable or everyone's strong or everyone's has all these great qualities, but everyone has something of. See, I don't even know if I totally if this is in all comics. Maybe it is in my comics, because I don't really have a lot of villains in my stuff. Everyone kind of in life has something to offer, maybe it's along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I also want it to be, enjoyable and funny, and hopefully have some moving moments. But I guess, the thing about, like, everyone, even the dummies, have something. Or like even someone who doesn't outwardly have all the qualities we all might wish we have. There's something, something to add to the world or something like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
That's beautiful.
That's very nice.
Oh, really?
And I mean it.
almost as good as the bottomless.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Manifesto.
Nobody can rival the bottomlessness. We know that. We
well,
are
that's
talking
why the
about lesser
collaboration.
things.
Yeah. It's like, can we combine that with bottomlessness? And it's like, oh, talk to Oz.
That was born bottomless waitress. Yeah, suddenly all the bottomless people have their own fantastic skills.
Yes.
Excellent.
Each
What about you,
person
Tans?
has their
You
own
have
beautiful pop.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I generally like the last. I'm trying to think how unfiltered I want to be right now. um, I am dealing with a lot of a very specific kind of trauma. It's not personal trauma. I cannot call myself like traumatized in ways that people expect to hear when they hear the word. But my heart has broken in many ways, and what I want to do is to process this in a way that makes me stronger by making people feel as intact as possible. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just trying to put it in words honestly. So I want to mend my heart by mending broken people in my comics, if that makes sense. And especially with Verdant, I want it to be more fun than it can be in Without Moonlight, where I also want to do this. Like when I started with Without Moonlight, that was not my purpose. I wanted to just show certain parts of history that aren't very well known. But now that is one thing that I will continue to do, but I also want to mend the broken people in my cast. The broken characters in my cast that I broke. I want to put them back together as much as possible. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Love it.
So that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And when you say
Beautiful.
it, I
I
can
didn't
see it
talk.
in Without Moonlight, the darker version in Without Moonlight, and then so far it seems like a bit of a lighter version of that in Verdant. It's got some darkness too, but it's more light. It's got more
Yeah.
comedy in it so far.
Yeah.
More humor.
Yeah.
But underlying it is that broken or traumatized characters can.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad it shows already. I mean, I'm glad for that. But I want Verdant is going to have more humor. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to it. So far, it's already very enjoyable
thank
with
you.
the humor. Oh, the call's going to end in a minute. Oh, we're doomed. So, bye-bye,
Bye.
people. Thank you for listening to Quackcasts.
Bye.
Yeah, 673.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you next week, guys.